Here is the voice of the working class, Rick Smith.
And welcome, brothers, sisters, working class heroes. This is the Rick Smith Show. Thanks so much for being here today on the big program. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. Much to my dismay, the words today from actual epidemiologists, not the cereal box variety, but people who actually spent their lives studying all of the viruses and the spread and all that stuff. Today, the big news report, we may never reach herd immunity. This will, evidently, COVID is going to the best I guess we can hope for is that it turns from a societal disruptor, their words, to a regular infectious disease. So it's not going to kill you, hopefully, just going to make you really sick. But the vulnerable populations, the people who were never going to do well in this, trouble for them. Now, the cause that they gave for us not being able to reach herd immunity and to eradicate this was something clever, and I always love good soft language, vaccine hesitancy. That almost sounds, cerebral. It almost sounds, there's good reason to be a little hesitant. Look, vaccine hesitancy is you're just wrong. You're not hesitant, you're just a moron. That's the easiest I can put it. Imagine deciding that we're not going to eradicate polio or smallpox. No, we can have a little polio. A little polio won't hurt you. I used to push back. I used to push back at the label that my grandfather's generation and my grandmother's generation were given, and that is the greatest generation. I used to push back on it. And the reason I used to push back on it is I said, my belief has always been, until now, of course, I completely, over the last year, have changed my mind on this. But my mindset was always that every generation rises to the challenges before them. Because what choice do you have? You have to rise to the challenge. You have to take it on. You have to fight back. You have to do what you got to do to get through and to get to the other side. Used to be my belief. My grandfather's generation wasn't any better or any worse than any other generation through history. Because, I go back to 9/11. After 9/11, you had, thousands of young men and women, flocking to the military and signing up going, we're going to go get them. Just like my grandparents' generation did. Obviously to a smaller extent, but like my grandparents' generation did en masse. Everyone joined up. All the men joined up for the military. All the women went into the factories. We turned this country into a massive wartime production machine. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody was going in the same direction. And, same thing with the polio vaccine. It was a mass mobilization. And we didn't have, I guess we didn't have Facebook back then. We didn't have the kind of social media. So maybe you had the vaccine hesitancy people. Maybe you had them back then. But we got to the point where polio's gone. You don't hear people getting polio. You don't hear the smallpox coming back and killing people, because that generation rose to the occasion, rose to the challenge of their moment, and did something about it. And now I'm thinking back going, wow, no more great generations. The weird thing is we can't even identify what the problem is. Our lack of being able to see it and agree on it, no way we're going to be able to fix it. The polling numbers are just staggering of the number of people who go, I'm not getting the vaccine because, Bill Gates is going to put something in there and track me. It's not safe. Now, look, there may be some people who have conditions that preclude them from taking it, and those people we have to help and deal with. But that's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry or Billy Joe, Bob, and Karen. get the damn vaccine. It's not that hard. I mean, this isn't that. But here's this moment. So the doctors are saying we're not going to reach herd immunity. We're not going to do away with it. That, and we've just screwed this up so badly that the variant that is much more contagious is just gonna be with us, because again, we had mask hesitancy. Again, not because we were actually hesitant, just because we were stupid, or some of us were. And even in this moment, you've got people flaunting other people's health. We're going to have no mask shopping parties. And you go, there are people who love being stupid. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those things where you go, I just love to show my dumbness. And this is one of those moments where you look at the complexity of problems, and we are not the society to solve those, or at least it doesn't seem. The mass of us, it's crazy that there are so many people who are so over misinformed. And I hear people, do your research. And I'm stealing Trey Crowder's line of, watching YouTube with your mouth open ain't research. Something that you saw on the internet that Billy Joe Bob, typed out in bad English is not research. And the thing is and this is bigger even than just the virus and the vaccine. There's this old saying, see the elephant. That you can step back far enough that you see the entire elephant, you see all the parts of it, you see all the problems, you see all kinds of things. That's how you come to the solution. Sadly, too many people have their heads up the elephant's behind. And that's all they see. So of course we're not going to be able to fix our problems. Of course we're not going to be able to come to solutions when all we have are people who want to be angry, who want to be outraged, and want to blame someone. So over the weekend, I got a bunch of emails from people who go, you don't seem to know the white working class. They left the Democratic Party because of Bill Clinton. And I'm going, if that's what your thought is, again, head up the elephant's behind. Because it's much bigger than that. It's much more complex than that. It takes much more thought and input than just go, it's Bill Clinton's fault. It was decades in the making. Supply side voodoo Reaganomics was something that brought us an entire new ideology of economic thought. That if we give rich people everything, we give corporate America whatever they want, the rivers of gold and honey will flow upon us, and corporate America will take care of us. That hasn't happened. So last week when I was talking about Joe Biden's speech and how I view it as kind of a reset back to my grandparents' generation of thought on ensuring that working people get decent wages, ensuring that working people have opportunity. In fact, as Biden pointed out in his jobs plan, 90% of the jobs that he's going to create don't require a college degree. It requires people with a strong back, a good mind, and able to work with your hands. Things that we used to do in this country, things that we used to respect, things that we used to encourage. And you go that Reagan era forward, where, no, we're not going to do that dirty, menial, manual labor stuff. No. And it's because of the economists of the time, people like Milton Friedman, who tried to convince us that we didn't need to do dirty manufacturing or those low-class jobs. We get poor people in poor countries to do that. We could all sit in the corner office and we can all wear our suits and our ties and drink lattes or whatever. And it was going to be great. Everyone gets a corner office. Problem is, only the CEO got the corner office. And the rest of us got stagnant wages, declining health benefits, retirement security that's all but gone, and less safe workplaces. Broken families, broken societies, poverty wages for most working people. And you wonder, okay, who do we blame? Well, we'll blame Bill Clinton. Reality, if you listen to this show, and not a Bill Clinton fan, so saying that Bill Clinton's the reason, he's part of the reason. He and the rest of them. This isn't just a one-off. Because again, I go back to, if you think everything begins and ends with Bill Clinton, you're a moron. And you've got your head up the elephant's behind. The fact that Amazon, their quarterly profits tripled during the lockdown and the pandemic, and we didn't tax the heck out of them to help fund people to be able to stay home and stay safe, is just mind-blowing to me. And again, I go back to my grandparents' generation. Their tax rate, for the vast majority of my grandfather's working life, who was a truck driver, and Milton Friedman and his ilk would have hated, was 92% on the 1%. If you had an income in 1953 of $1.6 million, on that dollar over $1.6 million in today's dollars, you would have paid 92% tax on. And we're screeching about 39? Corporate America was paying 56% on their profits in corporate taxes. Today, we're screeching about taking it up to 28%. Again, not seeing the real problems. Now, my grandparents' generation, they fought wars, they fought polio, they fought smallpox, they built the most impressive infrastructure the globe had seen to that point, did incredible things, built the most prosperous working class in the history of civilization. And Biden wants to return us to those kind of ideals. The idea of reward for work, the idea that work is valued and should be compensated as such, so that we can have a broad, prosperous working class. And I know everyone loves to say the middle class. I'm talking about people who get their hands dirty. People who have to come home at the end of a long day and take a shower when they get off work. The people who their backs hurt at the end of the day. Those are the people that I'm concerned with. Our wealth class, they got tons of mouthpieces and tons of people worried about them. I'm not. I'm worried about people like my grandparents who struggled for years to support their family. And we're in this moment where I'm hoping, and look, this is one of those moments where I don't take any joy in calling people a moron. But if you're not getting the vaccine, if you're giving me simplistic, idiotic lines, well, Bill Clinton signed Nafta. Well, that's true. But for those who don't know, Nafta was birthed under the Reagan administration, fully negotiated during the H.W. Bush years, and signed partially into law by H.W. Bush. It was going to happen if H.W. Bush won again in 92, regardless. Clinton did come in, make some minor toothless tweaks to the labor and environmental parts of it. Not enough to make me at all happy. And he signed it because that's where corporate America wanted us to go. And for me, the Democratic Party had walked kind of away from labor years before that. The difference is, and the reason that I'm a Democrat still, is because, well, working people have one last best hope. And that's moving the Democratic Party back to where they were when my grandparents' generation were in power. Back when they were still roaming the earth. Because the Republican Party to this point has been the party of destroying workers and their ability to join and form unions. You look at Taft-Hartley, you look at all of the attacks on the National Labor Relations Act. You look at the fact that they've rammed through right-to-work laws in states across the country the second they get power. And they will do it here in Pennsylvania if a Republican is elected governor in 2022. There is no question about that. So to throw at me, well, Bill Clinton, not a Bill Clinton fan. So one of two things you're showing me. One, you don't listen, because I've been saying this for years, or two, you're just a moron. And again, I say I don't take any joy in that, because the more divided we are, the more difficult these complex problems become to solve. And we need to solve them. We can be the greatest generation. This can be the greatest moment in the history of this country. this can be an opportunity for us to come together and go, you know what? We do want those common things. We do want, safe neighborhoods for our families, good jobs for our workers, good schools for our kids, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. We could rebuild and give our children a future that we only imagined when we were younger. But we're not going to do it. Why? Because we have vaccine hesitancy. Why? Because we've been so pitted against one another. We've been so put into our little boxes and subdivided and sliced and diced that all we want to do is bicker and blame, not solve. And I keep saying, look, I can get past the partisan divide. I want to get things done. It's not about scoring points. It's not about gotcha. It's not about my argument beats your argument. It's about how do we ensure that the working people I look in the eye every day who are just trying to put food on the table actually get to do that? How do we pursue policy that's going to move us forward and do it in a way that everyone comes along? Kind of like our grandparents' generation did. Kind of like that greatest generation. How do we rise to the challenges of today when there are entire industries, right-wing talk radio, cable news, who are out there and make their profit and make their bones off of just ticking us off and not critically thinking about how we move past all this stuff, how we fix the problems, of which we have many. And how do we heal those divides? I see these polls all the time. Well, Joe Biden isn't united the country. He's been in office 102 days now. It doesn't happen overnight, and it's not his responsibility to do. It's ours. So if I can do one thing, there's a way that we can begin to come together. Get the vaccine. Help us reach herd immunity so this doesn't take lives in the future. And in the future, don't send me emails simplistically blaming Bill Clinton for everything, because he was only a small part of the problem. Much bigger. Corporate America is our problem. That's who we need to take on. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. I do appreciate the emails and answer them myself. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Jeff Hauser is going to be here to share some thoughts on, well, evidently he's part of a well-funded think tank team. Quick break, right back. Stick around. You're listening to The Rick Smith Show.
There's nothing more American than workers standing up, and the union gives a voice to win. On The Rick Smith Show.